Good afternoon, garden friends. Welcome back to Flower Patch. And today we are going to talk about bare root roses. Now these, are some bare root climbers I got from Antique Rose Emporium. What I love about Antique Rose Emporium is they have vintage roses, and that's what I wanted. I've gotten some from them in the past, love them. And I'm an enthusiast. Now, sometimes with vintage roses, you will get some fungus problems and other things. But for me, they're well worth it. A lot of people would say no. They'd go for only the modern hybrids that are, bred to resist those things. And that's okay. But I incorporate a lot of roses in my garden. And some of the vintage roses are just too well scented or fully scented, much more so than any of the modern hybrids, that you've got to have them if you love roses. So that is why I love them. Now, the one of them I know that I got is called Albertine, and now it is a rambler, and it's a once blooming, but it blooms the earliest in the spring when none of my other roses are blooming. So I'll get 3 or 4 weeks of blooms from it while the others start to come into bloom. And I'll plant it with another climber on the same obelisk arbor or whatever I'm going to have it on. And then once it's done blooming, then the next one will take over. So I will get a longer bloom time. So, okay, here's my packing slip. Which ones? Yes, there was Albertine and Madame Alfred Carrière. That is one I had gotten before, and I don't know what I did with it. I probably killed it because I didn't get it in the ground soon enough. But you will see how well packaged they are. These are bare root. Or are they in a container? Oh, they're in a container. I thought they were bare root. But here you can see in there, very well packaged. And I will attempt to pull it out. Let's see. Now, I thought I was going to have to pot these up, and I was going to show you how to do it, but I'm not going to have to because they already are in containers. Let me just lay it down all the way. Then it might be easier to slide it out. With bare root, I would have put it in a pot because they need to be potted up, because I can't put them out on the ground now. If I could have put them out on the ground, I would have. But as you saw in my February garden tour, we are still fully loaded with snow, and I'm not going to dig out the snow to put the roses in. So, but Albertine, it's a beautiful pink. You can look it up. Go to the website if you wish. I've always gotten beautiful sized roses from them. And as I said, very well packaged. Am I coming out of here? Oh, we're getting some backlight, sorry. But, okay. Here is the container. Great packaging. So let me put this other one down while I take this other one out. So, yes, I'm going to be putting in a lot of climbers and other roses. There is a Instagram account that I have just fallen in love with, and I think she's in Japan, but I will put the words here, what it's called, 1995 L. Hardin something, or La Hardin, I can't remember exactly right now, but just gorgeous, such an inspiration. And what I love about it is she has all the roses, but she also has other things like foxgloves, delphiniums, etc. growing among the roses, the hardy geraniums. I'm sorry if there's a lot of noise, background noise, too. And, you know, all of those things grow like weeds in my garden, and I could replicate the beauty. So it just sparked some ideas for me. And I am going to start some roses from cuttings, but I also wanted these ones that already had a head start. So I will get beauty right out of the box. Oh my goodness. They are making sure nothing got dumped out. Perfect. So, beautiful soil. This one is Albertine. Albertine has thorns. Now the Madame Alfred Carrière has very few, if any, thorns. So these will be perfect. Such a healthy, healthy specimen. Now these grow on their own root, of course, because they're vintage roses. I got a little bit of soil right here. It needs to be filled in a little bit. So even if for some reason we had a hard freeze where the rose was killed to the ground, it would come back from the roots. And that's one thing I do love about own root roses. So this is perfect. It's already budding out a little bit. Even though we've got a lot of snow and our temperatures have been getting down into the 20s at night, some of my roses are budding out. I need to go out and prune some of the damage off because of the early heavy snows we got. They got busted, and so I need to take those off. I wouldn't do my regular pruning right now because I don't really want to stimulate more growth. And even the buds coming on right now, the new canes, if we have a very late hard freeze like we did last year, we had a hard freeze in late May where for several nights in a row it got down below 20 or down to 20 degrees. All the new growth got killed off. So I had to wait another 5 weeks before I got any blooms or anything. So it was very damaging. So as not to promote more of that tender growth, I won't do my major pruning that you would do in late winter, early spring for the roses. Especially as right now we have snow and we're getting those temperatures. And it is spots that are more protected, like it's up against the house, and that's what's budding. But anyway, so here's Albertine, and I will go ahead and and I'm just kind of relieved that I don't have to pot it because I want to put them right in the ground as soon as I can, and I have a bunch of other roses I got. I'll show you one that I got yesterday at a big box store. This is Sexy Rexy. I have always wanted Sexy Rexy. This was put up for $9.98 on the rack, and what broke my heart was they're letting them dry out. They've had them in for almost 3 weeks now, and they're letting them dry out. Now these are packaged in. Let me see what they're packaged in. These little containers, and then do they have any soil in around them? It looks like they do. So I guess these are not necessarily bare root, where before you'd buy them in a bag and they had sawdust packaged around them. And then you could get them really cheap. That's how I really started buying roses, because even on a tight budget, I could afford a few bucks for a rose. And yeah, so it does have soil in it. But in the store, they're letting these completely dry out. And they're already budding. The ones I had to dig back in the back of the shelf to get the ones that didn't look like they were too far gone. And that's so sad because all they had to do was water them. Pull out a sprayer because it has this little thing in the top, and they could have watered them. But that particular store is notorious for being silly with their plants because I'm always complaining. One year I went there in the spring and they had all these beautiful hydrangeas, gorgeous. Tables full. I mean, I have a 8-foot table here, and underneath they had just let them dry out. It just got very warm in spring, and they were starting to wilt, and they were tossing them in the trash bin. And I thought, all you got to do is get out a hose, water them. They will, come back. And I thought, how wasteful. But anyways, now not all big box stores are like that. There's one, the very same brand store, that's that way across the river. We have a river that way, larger towns that have these big box stores in them on either side of me. 1 hour away, the store on that side takes beautiful care of their plants. And their garden center, they set up vignettes. They have all the beautiful care. And the other one, they don't care. They put them out on the shelves, and then they leave them until they die. And if someone doesn't buy them, what have you. But I did, when I got this, I got a beautiful, beautiful clematis in a big pot. It was a good size. But of course, it wasn't coming out of dormancy, or barely, but it looked dead. And most people who wouldn't know that thing's supposed to look that way this time of year wouldn't buy it. But it's a color I don't have, and it's in a big pot. So all I need to do is water it, take care of it, and it's already starting to bud up. So I love the bargain rack for that, because it cost me, I think it was normally like a $30 plant or $40 plant, and I got it for like $15, So anyways, so this one, the Alfred Carrier, is another beautiful vintage rose that is nearly thornless. It is a climber. And this one can take more shadier conditions. If you have a spot that is shadier. Now, part of my backyard gets a lot of shade in the summer. Gets part sun, part shade. So I think this would be perfect in that area on an obelisk or what have you. Now, some roses that are claimed to do well in the shade, like Zephyrine Drone, when I had mine, my Zephyrine Drone in the shade, I hardly got any blooms out of it. When I moved it to where it got more sun, I get lots and lots of beautiful blooms. But it is susceptible to powdery mildew, what have you. I don't let that bother me. I don't go and automatically spray, even the ones sprays that are considered organic and safe. From what I'm learning in permaculture, even that isn't as safe as you might think. So I just try to avoid that completely and not worry about it, because as long as it's not killing the plant, it's no big deal. Some people say, oh, it'll spread and all that. You don't want it around. I have found whether or not I treat it, it spreads because of the conditions. We have very warm days, very cool nights. Even though we have dry conditions, they're not very humid, we still get it, and it's because of the warm days and cool nights, not because really of any other condition of having it present. It's the same with hollyhocks, the hollyhock rust. I know a lot of people don't like it. It is quite ugly on the leaves. I just remove those leaves, and I still enjoy my hollyhock flowers because there's no way I'm going to eradicate it without using something like a systemic, and I refuse to use a systemic because then I would kill the host. It is a host plant for painted lady, I think painted lady butterflies, and that would kill the butterflies. So what's the point of even having the plant as a host plant if you're going to kill the butterflies you're trying to attract? And I've tried other things. They just don't work well enough. They're too much work. If you can forgive the little bit of ugliness of those leaves, go for it. Don't worry about it. I have so many other things going on, and like I said, the ones that get the worst, the leaves, I just cut them off. Also, another trick I do is when they're first coming up and they're about this tall, I'll cut them down. Because they're coming up in early spring when you have the more cooler temperatures, the moisture, and that is what creates the rust. But if I cut them down, and what regrows is during the hotter months, and they don't have as much of a problem. So that's how I get my hollyhocks without the rust and enjoy them too. But a lot of times I just let them go, let them rust. And I don't, there's no way I'm going to eradicate the rust in my garden because all around me, this neighborhood, there are hollyhocks that grow wild. They all have the rust. The rust spores, the spores that create the rust, is carried on the wind. So no matter how much I eradicated it in my garden, it would still return. So it's just something I don't need to have to work on or spend time on, I should say, because I'm not going to have a result that's worth all the work. So I just enjoy them with the rust. So I would have one thing I recommend. Stop trying to get perfection in the garden. Your roses don't have to be perfect. They can have a little mildew. They can have a little black spot. They can have a little... You don't have to have perfection. You are going to have to use chemicals to get perfection, and I refuse to do that. There's a lot of gardeners who feel fine with that, and that's okay. That's their prerogative. But I am refusing to use the chemicals as much as possible. And if I ever did use a chemical, it would be not because I knew I was using one, but because I thought it was safe or what have you. And I'm always learning. I'm always learning about what's great, what's good, what's not good. Even though something's labeled organic, it doesn't mean it really is beneficial for everything, and it's not necessarily helping you in the long run. Okay, so I was going to do plant bare root roses with you this morning, and I don't have any bare root. So anyways, take a look over at the Antique Rose Emporium website. There's another rose there that's a once bloomer, but it's really supposed to be tough, and it's called the Peggy Martin rose or the Hurricane Katrina rose because it lived in a garden that was swamped from the salt water, the flooding, forever. This rose pulled through it like a champion. So it's a great beginner rose because You can do everything to it, and it's going to live for you. And it blooms beautifully. It's more of a fuchsia pink rose. So, all is good. Well, that is my rose haul. So we hope you enjoyed our chat about the climbing roses and why I enjoy vintage roses. But also, I'm going to put the link to the inspiration I have for what I'm going to do in the description box below. And you can go see that Instagram account and see exactly what I'm talking about. Also, I'm debating between putting this in my side garden or something similar, or in my back secret cottage garden. So please, in the comments below, tell me which one you would choose as far as where to do this kind of garden design, layout, or inspiration. So I hope to see you in my next video. All right, see you then. Bye.